what did my head? What did I wish for? I wished for everyone to tune in to the DweeBros podcast.
Yeah.
With a great mood, a great attitude.
Positivity.
No negative comments.
Mm-mm.
Negative comments scattered like dust in the wind.
Right on that snap.
They all got deleted.
And Jacob too, apparently.
Yeah, he was unfortunately he was the sacrifice.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining after I wished you to be here. I am Thanos. I'm sorry. I am Dweebo, your host, joined by
Travis. What's up? How's it going?
We usually do have a third person here, Jacob.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
I found this year it's been tough to get. It's like when you've got a group of friends you play games with online, but when you go through that period where it's hard to get all three to play Destiny all at one time. So
we're struggling this year.
Yeah, but it's been okay. It's been some variety. We've had some wild cards. We've had some different people show up. So
where one falls, one steps in, except for this week.
It's just
no one stepped in.
But we're gonna try to find a way to go back and find Jacob.
Yes.
Yes.
Perhaps we will.
Maybe avenge him.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
So welcome. This is DweeBros podcast. We talk about games, TV shows, movies, anything crazy going on in the internet and in the world. So we are at our 28th episode.
Are we at 28?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Oh my god!
We're about to turn 30.
Wow,
It was just yesterday we had the ability to drink, and now we're here about to. What do you do at 30?
I can't believe we're at 28.
30, you're able to have kids.
28, I feel like if you're just throwing out episodes, like whatever, like here's an episode a week or an episode every few days, 28's not that impressive. We do these once a month.
Yeah. So
one time a month. So that means for 28 straight months, we have found a way to do this thing. I think I missed one. You haven't missed any.
Can't.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm the operator.
If Zach wasn't here, we would just fall and lose our minds and not know what to do.
So thank you for joining us again, and we want to talk about some stuff on the channel. So we did a hangout. It's been hard again to do even hangouts. It's been pretty crazy between Dweebs episode and stuff, which we'll talk about. But Hunt and Seek, we did a hangout on that.
Hunt and Sneak.
I put it wrong in the friggin' thing. I didn't deserve this. We didn't deserve an
Tell
opportunity.
the people what is Hunt and Sneak.
What Hunt and Sneak is something we shouldn't have ever had the opportunity to do. But we had the developers of Hunt and Sneak.
It's a game on Steam.
A game on Steam. You can check it out.
They reached out to us.
They reached out to me. They emailed me. They said, "Hey, here's a Steam code. If you want, would you want to make a video for this? Whatever." I said, "This will be awesome for Hangouts." Yeah. So we had a great time. Me, Travis, and Kenny played Hangouts. You can check that up. I'll put that up here on the video, and had a great time.
We had a great time.
And the developer joined in. How nice of him. And I messed up his name. And I think he was very nice because somebody else in the chat was like, our good buddy AOI jumped in and said, it's actually, why is the title like that? And I had the title wrong and everything.
Yeah, you put it as Hunt and Seek.
Hunt and Seek.
And the game's called
Hunt
and
Seek. And the guy
Sneak.
just said, haha, whoops, the developer. So I think he was being nice, maybe, and these idiots have not.
But now in our show notes today, you once again have called it the wrong thing. I think you told me it was Hunt and Seek, or I thought it was Hide and Seek, because we were supposed to do this video for this game, and he's like, yeah, it's Hunt and Seek or whatever. And so I looked it up, and it pulled up Hide and Seek, and I was reading on this game called Hide and Seek on Steam. They had 5 out of 10 reviews, and all these people saying it was malware. And I was like, Zach, I don't know if we want to play this. And he's like, no, it's not that. It's this other thing. So Hunt and Sneak, fun game. It's on Steam. Check out the video of us playing it. It's couch co-op. Really cool kind of cartoon animals and monster that chases, stealth base. So I had fun with that one. That was a fun video.
Yeah, and big thank you to Pixel Engineers. I might even be messing that up, but I think it's Pixel Engineers is the developer. If not, I'll correct it, and I'll put a clown mask on my face because that's what I look like.
I think
messing
you got
up the name.
I think you got it.
But big thank you to them. Next up, Backlog Bros episode 2.
Yeah, so we did a second episode of Backlog Bros. Came out a couple weeks ago. That's a show where me and Jacob get together. We spin a wheel with a bunch of random games from our backlog, and we let that help us figure out how to whittle it down. So he played Hotline Miami. I played Alien Isolation. So I had a horror game going on. He had kind of a fun indie shooter. If you're interested in either of those two games or just that show in general, I highly encourage you to check that out. We have another episode of that we're producing here in the next couple weeks that will be up on the channel. So lots of great older game content for you coming.
They're on the quest to clear their backlog.
Yeah, well, we've done 2. So
well on your way.
180 to go or whatever. So
yeah, and then finally we had the big enchilada. We had our Dweebs episode 2.
Yeah.
Oliver come out.
Yeah.
So this is 2 of 5. There's going to be a total of 5 episodes of Dweebs, which if you didn't tune in last week or haven't seen anything, I encourage you to watch episode 1 and episode 2. It is a show, a variety show, celebrating games through story, game discussions, and possibly some music covers of games.
Yeah.
Thrown in there as well. But episode 2 takes a different kind of approach than episode 1.
Yeah.
It still has that kind of variety show feel, but episode 1, and I replied to a comment somebody said, wow, this is very depressing.
Episode 1.
And it's like, I get it. Like, that's kind of what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Episode 1 had a very melancholy. I knew all that Ocarina of Time stuff was coming. I knew I wanted to make it melancholy with that character and what was going on with this story in that episode. But episode 2, Oliver, is kind of goofy.
It's goofy. It's more fun.
It's more wacky. It still has a darker side to it.
Yeah.
It has I can't get away with too much, too much happiness going on.
I love the bumpers. I love the ASMR or AMS. How do you say ASMR gaming? Not to give too much away, but there's a really fun skit with that.
Well, you know what? If you've seen it, we're gonna spoil it. Like, I'll put the link.
And maybe us talking about it will make you want to watch it.
Yeah.
You know? So I thought that was the funniest freaking skit where you're playing a character that's like playing Cuphead and is trying to be all calm. And you're like, frick.
Yeah.
Frick.
That came up with, I think we were bouncing ideas because we knew we needed stuff to fill time. So episode 1 I had to cut down. Like there was so much discussion stuff and story. Like I'm trying to fit them each to 30 minutes. It's the only kind of rule I'm giving myself when I'm editing these. But episode 2 kind of needed more stuff to fill it out.
Yeah.
The discussion, the story, we needed more content. So I knew that was something we threw out there, and I was like, okay. So I was alone one day working on stuff, or I was editing. I was like, okay, we need more thing. Let's try this out, and I had a great time. For some reason, it was making me laugh having that hat on and keeping it barely on my head.
Yeah.
And it made me laugh because I was like, you can't see the hat, and I was like, oh, that's good. When I lean in, you'll see how big this hat is. Like that, I barely have this hat on. And so that's Paul.
That was a great skit. I also loved you found the greatest news clip ever.
I really lucked out.
The greatest news clip ever. If you haven't watched the episode, someone is stabbed with a sword.
Yeah.
Maybe influenced by Zelda.
I was looking for. I was literally. I was Googling because the bumpers in this one actually have more kind of a meaning to it. Like in you'll see kind of like Oliver is kind of this very critical guy. So I wanted to find like, let's just make fun of just when games just as much as we celebrate them, let's find where they just fall on their flat on their face. Yeah. And that was in my head the Skyward Sword demo. I remember that game to me.
The E3
always
demo
had issues with like the motion control. And man, it had issues from the start. On stage, that thing had issues. And that just was awkward, I remember. And I was like, I'll pull that up. That's going in there, and I'll figure it out in a bumper.
Yeah.
And then where it ends is one of my like goosebumps all over favorite moments of all time on E3 or any presentation, the Twilight Princess reveal.
Yeah, I don't even have a strong connection to that game, but I got kind of goosebumps watching that
incredible.
Part. Yeah, just the reaction of the crowd and how pumped everybody got about that.
And at
game.
first that was all it was going to be, and then the original thing. But as I was trying to find, I don't know what I was trying to find with Zelda stuff. I wanted some Zelda content in there, or like somebody in a costume. I don't know. I was gonna find some real guy and like cut to this lame thing or something.
Yeah.
And that came up, and I watched it, and I was like, "Oh God, this changes everything."
Yeah,
like, I was like, "This is going in there. This is gonna change the whole thing, but I'm very happy.
I just love this man got stabbed by a real sword, and the news is covering it, and it was like a...
I also lucked out when I was going through the footage and stuff for Breath of the Wild and all that stuff, and I found that footage. That perfectly went with the story, and I was over the moon with that stuff. So that was fun.
What was some of the thought behind Oliver's character?
So Oliver's character, and we've kind of talked about it before on our podcasts and stuff. Like, this whole channel is celebrating games, and the number one thing, and I've made fun of on my Twitter, is like these top 15 things that are wrong with Star Wars or this or ukulele. Here's 10 reasons why ukulele sucks.
Yeah, or just in general, all of those channels that are just like, you look at all the thumbnails like, why this sucks, why this sucks, why this failed, why this is dead, why this died, this is dying. There are, I mean, if you spend any time on YouTube, you see that stuff.
And it gets clicks because people want to fight in the comments.
People want to fight in the comments. People are attracted to the idea of something failed. It's like fun almost, like to a lot of people.
Or, I have told my friend this movie sucks and they shouldn't enjoy it. And then it's like, why? Like, why spend the time? We're definitely critical.
Yeah.
But like, we're trying to celebrate, like, we legitimately like games, and if there's stuff that Jacob likes, like, that we don't like.
We don't waste time, like, tearing it down.
Yeah, we don't tear them down.
And we've even changed our minds on things. I think for a long time we all ragged on Destiny, and then I got into it, and we talked about it on the podcast, about the good parts and the bad parts about it. So
we crap on Destiny all the time, and we play it a lot.
So it's one of those things where it seems like that was a big reaction point.
Oh, yeah.
Part of what
Oliver's
you wanted
character,
to focus on.
Another slight thing on Oliver's name was he was supposed to be British.
Yes.
we were finding a lot of those people doing the negative thing. This isn't all. There's all nationalities.
There's a lot of British accents on YouTube criticizing things. There's a lot
hello today, guys. We're going to talk about top 15 reasons this sucks. So we were going to have Jacob do that, but when it came time the day of filming, Travis, you said it, or I was like,
I warned you. I said, I don't think I've ever heard him do a British accent.
So we got with the camera, and I said, well, we were working out like the first time, and he said, I don't know if I can do a British accent.
This is how we cast people before we actually know what.
Yeah. So I had him try it out, and it was not good. Nope. We saved you from it. So we kept the name though, and just had him do an American accent. Still funny. Yep. Still works. But yeah, his was a reaction to let's just, you know what, these people deserve to be called out, or this type of character on YouTube. Yeah. So that's what Oliver is that. Yeah. But you get to see maybe he wasn't always like that.
Yeah, I love that the way that you start to look into that of he's very critical. Yeah. Then what did his older content maybe look like, or how did he used to be, and what caused that change? And I know for me it's something I've struggled with, where even having a channel we're not super critical of things, but there has been times where it's like I only play the best of the best because we're playing stuff for our podcast, we're trying to figure out things for Game of the Year, and I lose my barometer on like what's good and what's bad. Yeah. And I sometimes feel like, man, I almost need to play something that's complete butt. You know what I mean? Because if all I'm playing is 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 games for our channel and for talking about stuff, you lose your barometer of what's good, and you start criticizing things there's nothing wrong with them. There's actually not anything wrong with it. It's just you just expect it to be something miraculous because you're bored with the hobby, you know? Yeah. So
and that's why I even showed like him, because think about the people that make those videos. They're like top 10 reason this sucks, and if you go to those people's channel, a lot of that is negative. Like, this actually is bad, or what could have been improved with this, and they have to be taking notes to make those videos. Yeah. Not that the videos are not well produced.
So then any content they engage with is centered around the acquisition of those types of
notes. That's
what
I tried to show is these his character was actually having fun with that.
I love that scene where he's having the fun, and then he looks down at the notepad and it's like, well, I got to write a few things down.
I know I have to say some bad things.
So, I thought you captured that really well.
Yeah, thank you. But and then also the song in this.
Yeah. So we close this song, or this episode closes out. Basically, in the pre-production phase, we just had conversation about music and video games that we like, and so some of it was songs I liked, some of it was songs Zach liked, but some of it was songs that were put onto me by other people, and so. In the video, Dweebs episode 2 at the end, we do a cover of an old an old song from a game called Tetris Effect. If you want to look it up, just look up Tetris Effect Forest Stage is the name of the song, is Forest Stage. And it's
Tetris Attack.
Tetris Attack, right?
Yeah, you said Tetris Effect.
Oh,
a little newer.
Yeah, Tetris Attack. Yeah, exactly. And then it's Forest Stage. And so the guy playing bass in the video, his name's Greg. He's been on a hangout with us before. Me and Greg were in a band a couple years ago. And so when we were in a band, he would always talk about this game, Tetris Attack, and how it had this awesome song with this great bass line. So we started learning that basic drum pattern and him playing that bass just for fun. We would warm up to it. And then when we started talking about doing a song, I was like, hey, this is one from totally out of left field. It's not from Zelda or anything. It's just from this weird, obscure NES game. But what do you think about this? And I played it for him. And Zach immediately was like, oh, I will use that for this episode. Yeah. And so that was how it wound up there in this episode. And so we got together a few guys. We recorded, a demo, and then we went out in the woods and kind of made a day of it. Yeah. And filmed in the woods. Really interesting the way you filmed that, because when you watch the video, it flips between regular digital photography and then like weird vintage. And Zach actually took 2 cameras and was filming like one at a time and mixing them together. And so that was a lot of fun to make that music video. I really love that song, and I feel like we had fun with it. We covered the song, but we did a little bit of a different spin at certain parts, and so that was a lot of fun to work on for sure.
It was.
That was one of my favorite covers that we put together, because it was a weird, obscure song. Some of the other songs we'll get to, which I won't tell you now, but obviously Ocarina of Time in the first one, they're very well-known songs, so you struggle with how do we deviate, you know what I mean, from the way the song was and still have fun with it. Yeah. And this was one where it's like nobody knows this song, so we can actually kind of do whatever we want and it won't matter.
Yeah, it sounded great. You guys did an awesome job. Yeah. Travis did a great job with all the music and stuff and all those guys playing as well.
Oh, but, additional shout out, a lot of the music in episode 2 during the discussions and stuff, kind of the hip hop beats. Yes. Those are actually from Greg, the guy I talked about earlier, from his actual EP he released this year on SoundCloud. So if you're interested in some of that music, Greg has a SoundCloud. It's called Hummus. I think it's just Humus. And the 5 or 6 tracks from that EP make up a lot of the discussion music. So give that a look on SoundCloud if you're interested in that. He did a great job. Greg actually had a big imprint on the music of this episode between recommending the one song and then making a lot of the other music. So.
He said he was making this. He was like, I'll send it over and you can use it if you want. And I said, give me the download. When I got to listen to it on SoundCloud, I was like, give me that. I'll throw that all in there. So, shouts out to that. Just really talented people worked on this. But fun day, and then I had fun making it, going back between those things. I did if you know The Room, the movie The Room, Tommy Wiseau famously took a regular film camera and an HD digital camera, and on the same rig, and people were like, just use the film camera, and then you can do whatever you want. Like, just do the one. No, I'm making a movie. Like, it just said stuff like that. So I basically had to do that. I had to do it the Tommy Wiseau. I had one thing, and I attached the old camera on the new camera. So that's how we were able to get that effect. Because what was really cool and worked out in my head while I was like in pre-production stuff was, okay, we're talking about game graphics. Okay, let's jump between this crappy old, these old SD, what I used to film on, to this new. But very fun. I'm very happy how all that stuff turned out. So
I really love that episode. It was great. It turned out great.
So check that out. How about games themselves? What have we played?
I think I know one game we both have played a lot of. So let's dive right into that.
Yeah.
Sekiro.
Yes.
So you've beaten it. Yeah. I have all but beaten it. I am.
You are at the end.
I am at the end.
Banging your controller.
Yeah. So let's just have a little talk about Sekiro.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
So Sekiro, very in the Soulsborne type deal, very much faster. The reason I know that, not only just playing it, I went back and I'm actually playing Dark Souls 3, which I'll get to barely in a second, but very much slower. It's kind of a whiplash going from so fast. And Sekiro is up there for me, honestly. It is so fast. I love the blocking. I love the focus on kind of the posture and kind of balancing that with your health and all that stuff. It's up there for me. I'm going to sit on it a little while, but my first reaction is one of my favorites of the whole.
They did a bold thing with that game in that they really mixed up their formula a lot, a whole lot, and they delivered on it. They really did. We talked on the last podcast about how it's got stealth elements and it's fast and you can jump and there's this traversal and I mean I still stand by all that stuff. I think that the game when we first saw it revealed, I was kind of wondering, like, okay, but is it going to have that classic From Software, like, are there layers to this cake? You know what I mean? Like, are there really different areas? Are there big surprise moments?
Yeah.
Is every boss going to be just a big guy with a sword? And they really did take it all the way.
Yeah.
There's lots of different environments, lots of different bosses. There's a big, like, giant dragon boss that's almost like a puzzle boss where you have to, like, jump up on these trees and you like absorb lightning and shoot it at it. You know, like a big set piece kind of boss that kind of reminded me almost of like a Demon Souls, where it was more like a puzzle than it was really a fight. And I really love the game. I really do. I love that world, the atmosphere. I think it's the smoothest game in the series and of their games, their later games, in terms of just navigating the world and knowing where to go.
Yeah.
Even the couple times I got snagged, I knew what I kind of needed to do. It was just like figuring out exactly what it was. Whereas I think in most of their other games, there have been times where I straight up have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I think I only looked up one time, if that. I don't know if I did.
Yeah.
I think I did figure out, like, okay, I went this far. I have to go here.
Yeah. I for the context of this game, it was fine having one weapon. I was nervous about having one weapon the whole time. I was nervous about not having armor and all stats. You actually do end up having stats. It's just very streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very simple. I was curious. I wanted to ask you: would you call this an RPG still? An action RPG?
It's a light
RPG light.
It's an RPG light because I've seen people play through it without having to do that skill tree stuff, and I felt like it added to it. You could get little bonuses, but I actually didn't even use the special moves that I got. Kind of. I just kind of. I
kind of struggled just because it has a pretty in-depth skill tree.
Yeah. It's
a little more like a Metroidvania maybe than it is an RPG, but I did kind of wonder. I was like, how different is this than something outside? If you take out quests and like not talking to people, like The Witcher, they're very different games. But like The Witcher, the way that you progress your character outside of inventory is pretty similar to this, of just you have a skill tree and you can emphasize different things. So I know a lot of people are like, this one's not an RPG, and I was like, I don't think it's an RPG, but it has some still RPG elements.
I mean, it still has the similar, you get like your health raised and attack like, you know, the other Souls games, but it's more like you're beating boss and you get something that you get at. But
very streamlined, really very good. The final boss is hell on earth, and I have had a really hard time beating him. I haven't gotten to really spend a long time on it. I spent like 4 hours on it one day, and then it's been little pockets of time since then. So I can't offer any thoughts really on the very end of the game, but we don't really typically do that on here anyway.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a great game, man. I think it's got to be. I think Dark Souls 2 is my favorite. And then it's probably Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls right after that. And then it's Bloodborne underneath those. And I think this sits very comfortably with the Demon Souls, Dark Souls. And if I had to rank them, it would probably be Demon Souls, Sekiro, Dark Souls. So it's 2A or 2B.
2B or not to be.
Yeah. And all those games I just said I consider to be basically 10 out of 10 great games.
Yeah.
So.
But definitely recommended.
Yeah.
They did a good job with it. On that same front, I've played a little bit of Dark Souls 3. So it's more about like me coming from Sekiro to that. So I've got back in the swing of things. You just walk around with your shield up usually.
See,
before these
I think we play them quite differently.
Well, what I've run into, what I hate, and I actually have had happen to me already with Dark Souls 3, is the haunted house effect, where stuff will just jump out at you, and that's why I do that. Yeah. Once I know enemy placement, maybe I'll do it.
There's not as much of that in Sekiro.
Oh yeah, not much at all. And if there is, you just pat.
Do you find yourself missing that grappling hook to get out of places?
Yep, because right now I'm just sprinting away, and then you watch your stamina meter to go down. It's like, oh crap.
Yep.
Forgot about that too. But I'll have more to say on that later. It looks nice, and I'm not too far into say much, but I am already smashing my controller on my leg, so it's a good sign that stuff's fun. It's like it was so early, and I was like, why is this still happening? Why am I still mad at these? But
two-hand that weapon, man. Spank that.
That's what I've been doing with this one, but I'm more confident playing it. But yeah, and then I've been playing The Witness. So I might have even said this on the podcast that this game sucks.
Yeah, you were not a fan of this game 2 years ago. On episode 8, you were not a fan.
I badmouthed this game. I said it's line puzzles. Wow, that's real cool.
I believe your exact words, why would I spend $40 on a phone game? That was literally what you said.
Okay. Well, guess what? Jonathan Blow, I made one mistake in my life, and that was...
You blew it.
That's the only thing I've ever done wrong, which was say that this game was not great. I have went back, now that I have played the Souls games, now that we're on the subject of it, but that made me appreciate the challenge. I already kind of liked stuff like that with Skate. You kind of have to learn to get better. You're gaining the skills to get better, and then when you do it, it's like, oh, that rewarding feeling. So now I like that extreme challenge to get that rewarding feeling. That's what The Witness is. It is a Metroidvania in some sense. Instead of getting items, you get knowledge and brain power. It's literally, you start out like, there was places I'd run into where I couldn't do the puzzle. Yeah. It was too hard. So I went, I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah.
I just have to walk away. So I'd walk away, find a new type of puzzle. Okay, I'm learning that. And they do a good job kind of teaching you. And then as you go on, you're like, you start to get like confident, and then you find combinations of the different gimmicks with the puzzles. And you're like, oh shoot. And you have to see how those play together. So I've had a fantastic time. I'm probably at the very end game. I'm very like...
I think this is a game I'm going to play this year. I've been wanting to play it. Are you playing with the controller?
I'm playing mouse and keyboard.
Mouse and keyboard.
But definitely recommended for people that like that. That's, like the challenge to get that rewarding feeling. And don't be surprised. Like, I would spend 35 minutes something on a puzzle. And that's another thing. People do say, hey... And then I have done this, like, if you get stuck, walk away. So I was doing that. But then you get to the point where you got to face your demons.
Yeah.
And you have to go for it. And here's the thing. Because some people are under the impression or under the thought process of never look anything up. And I was that way until there is a meter that I think people forget about, or at least that I have, and that is frustration over fun. And if I am hanging over in Frustrationville for like hours and stuff, it's like then I'm not enjoying the product that I got. Then it's not worth. You know what I mean? Yep. Then I'm back to Oliverville. I'm not having fun.
Yeah, that's like the same way in Dark Souls. Like I'll fight a boss 10 times, but if it just keeps killing me and I don't feel like I have any idea how to counter, I'm going to start looking up YouTube videos. Because
what people forget is I have done that when I was a kid. And what hell do you feel as a kid when you get to a game that you really enjoy and you get stuck? And then there was tons of that when I was a kid. And I would go, I don't know how to do this. And then you would start, what I would usually do is start it over. Yeah. And then I'd get to that same spot and I'm still stuck. And it's like, wow, what a cool thing.
I mean, I spent a month with my brother and sister in the Deku Tree. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
We played it for a month.
Yeah.
We could not figure out how to get past the part where you come around, like you drop down in the base and you come around, and there is a part where you have to take fire.
Yeah.
And put it to a spider web.
Yeah.
We could not figure that out.
Yeah.
It took us a month. And when we finally figured that out, yes, it was the most satisfying thing on earth. But all of that time wasted, I can't do that as an adult.
Yeah, and you're frustrated.
And if you say you do that now, you're freaking lying.
Yeah, you're lying. We have opened up Paradox.
There's no way that these people that get online and say, play Dark Souls blind. Play it blind, blind. Don't ever look anything up. You're full of crap.
Yeah.
You're absolutely full of crap if you say you don't ever look anything up with these things.
Pandora's box has been opened with everything at my fingertips, my iPad, my phone, whatever. I can get up and look up the solution. And that is very enticing, but I would struggle through The Witness to where it's like, okay, not having fun. I am racking my brain. I've tried everything that I know. And then you're like, you look up a solution. Or sometimes what I'll even do is there's good hint guides. They're like, think about this. And it's like, oh, that's all I needed was a hint that will push me there. But most of the time, I'll look up the thing and go, oh my gosh, yeah.
But that to me is the mark of the best kind of puzzle games. The ones that are always just hard enough that you get close to that point, but you don't look it up. That's why I think you would like the Talos Principle.
I will probably play that
because
next.
I played the Talos Principle and I soaked up every ounce of that game, and almost consistently the puzzles put me into a headspace where I was like, I want to look this up, but I always figured it out. I didn't look up one puzzle, and it was an amazing experience. That game is phenomenal. Yeah. Phenomenal.
But there is the way this is designed. I was even laughing too, sort of like thinking like, why did this game take 6 years to come out? But like the detail and some of the ways you have to do the puzzle and use the environments for some of these puzzles in very shocking ways of like, oh my gosh, how did you think of that? Like, how did you think that this was going to work in? Is incredible. So The Witness is honestly one of the best games of the generation to me.
You've taken a whole turn on this, man. Because I remember us having a conversation of, I hadn't played it, but I wanted to play it, and you were saying you didn't think there was any way it could be worth $40, and I was just like, man, you're wrong. Like, a game can be worth $40 just because it's a puzzle game. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's not worth any specific amount of money.
Yeah, so I definitely have done a total 180 on that game. So The Witness, definitely check it out. Past me, you're wrong. You're wrong past me.
We need to just keep getting you to play things you're wrong about. That's great.
Next week's going to be Destiny, guys. You got to play it.
Destiny, you got to play it.
But that's it for me on the gaming front.
Yeah, me too.
But that's not it on the gaming front, because the future is ahead of us. We are playing old consoles like PS4 and Switch and the Xbox One, the relic is the Xbox One. Because now there are new consoles.
They really are. They're right around the corner.
PS5. We got the first kind of
This was the weirdest way to drop information.
Sony, and they even put in their blog, it's like, hey, this is the new information or whatever. But it's going to have a solid state drive in it.
Well, first of all, how did we get this information? Where did it come from?
From Sony themselves.
But they dropped it in like an article with like...
it was a Wired. It was a Wired like exclusive.
Like literally the way they announced this was like, hey, go to this Wired article. Yeah. And then in the Wired article, the reporter was like, I sat down with Mark Cerny and there was a box. And he showed me X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Like, it's just weird. Weird way to announce something.
So we've got solid state drive, they said. And what was interesting, so that's going to be cool for like loading. I guess they showed Spider-Man, working on this thing. Because it's backward. That's another thing that's pretty big, that it was backward compatible with PS4 games. PS1 through PS3, give up. I think going on forward, PS4 and
they better just find a way to emulate PS3 one day.
We've got to get some of those last, like Metal Gear Solid 4 and stuff. How are we going to do that?
Demon's Souls.
But yeah, so that's going to be backwards compatible. But they showed like loading was like, I mean, I have a solid state on some of my like device and stuff, and the difference is like incredible.
Yeah, they were saying that literally they could fast travel like Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Across Manhattan, and it wasn't. There's no loading screen. Yeah. He just popped up there.
Yeah.
I was trying to think what some of the other examples were.
So another big thing was two big things: ray tracing and audio. So with ray tracing, if you can look this up on YouTube yourself, but ray tracing is like how they calculate how light should react to certain objects.
Yep.
It's very intensive. It's extremely intensive.
It's the ray trace lighting is the new feature on the new RTX cards.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you can actually see that now with some of these PC games that have enabled it.
But now I'm shocked it's going to be on the next consoles.
Yeah, because it is so intensive.
I've seen some examples though, and it's kind of unbelievable. Yeah, like it makes HDR look like doo-doo.
Yeah, it's so intensive to do it. So incredible that that's coming on PS5. That'll definitely, because you think next gen, it's like, how can it get any better?
Yeah,
and it's like,
but you know what? I said that going into this gen, and now when I look at 360 PS3 stuff,
you can tell.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. Things look very blurry on that gen. Yeah. So,
but the other thing was audio, and they kind of made it a big point. They kept talking about it. And I think even the article, like, they kept mentioning this or whatever. Yeah. But if you think about it, it's like, wow, I never even thought about that. But they basically can use the ray tracing for the audio. meaning that when you hear footsteps, you hear this or whatever, it's much more detailed. The audio space is much more detailed.
That's very interesting.
And it's like he's saying, and Mark Cerny was saying too. He's like, I'm not saying even surround sound. I'm not like going into that. Of course, there'll be, you'll hear that. But even I'm talking stereo speakers, you're going to even get more out of that.
Yeah.
And they even said like, we're even going to go further and say, get that PlayStation Gold headset or whatever, and like any headset, you're going to really tell a difference.
I think sound is one of the things that people think the least about,
and it's 50% of the game.
With movies and with games, but it is 50% of the experience. So I'm down for it. Whatever they can put in the tools in developers' hands to flesh these things out.
Sounds awesome. And I think they even said don't expect in 2019, which I think nobody was.
In 2020.
I think 2020, these things are coming out, Xbox and PS5 or whatever. So, going to be interesting.
I think the perfect time to get a Pro. I got one last year. I'm going to get all of this year.
Yeah.
I'm happy. A year and a half of use, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, the Pro's been awesome too for it. But one other thing in the article was they asked, I think he even mentioned Death Stranding or something came up about Death Stranding. There was a little smirk there to the point where it's like, I think Death Stranding is going to be cross-gen. Yeah. That's kind of what the impression was made.
To me, like, there's no need to rush it out for this gen. Yeah. And if it will benefit from the hardware, this gen's already stacked. Mm-hmm. It's fine. It's really okay. Like, release it whenever it's best for the game.
Sure. So, that's what we have in the future.
Yeah.
But what do we have when our eyes glance from one screen to the other?
TV shows.
So,
what have you been watching? Me
and my wife watched through, and I've seen it. This is my third time through. Gurren Lagann, anime Gurren Lagann, Gainax Studios.
They put out quality stuff.
My wife, she liked Evangelion. She had a good time with Evangelion. That's my favorite anime of all time. But she's not a huge anime fan. She's not really we just watch a lot of live action stuff. She's never been an anime kind of person. But she really loved Gurren Lagann a lot. She had a great time with it, and I had fun watching it again. It was fun watching her react to certain things that show does is absolutely insane. Where that show starts and where it ends is unbelievable. You'll never see it coming. That's what she was saying towards those last couple episodes. Wow, this has started blah blah blah.
That's so cool to hear. I think anime is such an underrated medium because it does things that aren't possible in live action.
Yeah. And the art is awesome and stuff. So it's freaking fun. Gurren Lagann is just fun from beginning to end. Has a cool message. All the characters you'll just fall in love with, and it's my second favorite. But very fun. Serial Experiments Lane.
Never heard of this.
Is an anime that came out in '98. So right around right after Evangelion aired, and I'm wondering if they were definitely inspired by Evangelion or if it was just the mood at the time in Japan for them to make this. But Serial Experiments Lane is about a girl, and she's in this world, and there's something called the Wired that people plug into in their computers and stuff. And it's honestly, this show shaped my whole outlook on AR and I think AR is definitely the future and stuff. And if you watch the show, you're like, yeah, that's kind of the fears about AR. That's kind of what's going on. It is the one way to explain this. It's 18 episodes. One way to explain this show is imagine Evangelion, where they go in Shinji's head and it's very cerebral in Evangelion. Imagine that only, and none of the breathing room.
Oh my gosh!
You get trickles, very small moments of breathing.
Whoa!
And
18 episodes of that.
It's 18 episodes of that. So I remember I've only seen the show once before. This is my second time through because the first time through, I said I had a crazy time watching that. I don't know if I like it or not. I couldn't say if I did or not.
Whoa!
Because it was so murky and just deep. But now that I've been through Evangelion a couple times and I've watched all of David Lynch's films, it's maybe I have the stomach maybe this is the witnessed now of just like I can sit through these kind of more cerebral
There's some
things.
really dark animes. There's one, I got to look up the name of it, but there was one that I watched from the 90s that was just so depressing, and I only made it a few episodes in. It was something in 90s anime, but there were just some really weird
I don't know
ones.
what they were doing back then in the 90s, but I hope they watch Gurren. That's all I gotta say. Get happy, but yeah, I'm 4 episodes in. It's very deep and just thick.
I want to check that out. That sounds
it's
interesting.
a thick show, a lot to digest. But
Serial Experiments Lane.
So I don't even know if I recommend it yet. I got to go through a second time and take it all in again. But the bigger enchilada this month, Game of Thrones,
My favorite show.
back. So I'll give some thoughts without spoiling stuff
You're
for
fine.
you. Because you do want to, I would say, maybe...
I think I'll watch it one day.
Decade.
I've been having fun on Twitter just reading what like crazy things people are saying.
So this is the final season. Took them 2 years to get to this, and I think it was a great decision. Westworld's done the same thing, too. Of
Take 2 years.
They're going to take 2 years, that'll be back and whatever. But I love that HBO is like, yeah, just do that. Because I feel like there's a requirement, just a self-imposed requirement of like, yeah, we just do these seasons yearly and stuff. And I like that HBO, some of those directors, are like, what if we took 2 years to make a TV show and really take our time on it? And man, it shows.
Really?
They took 2 years to make this last season. So we're
3 episodes.
We're 3 episodes in. There's a total of 6. And this past one, this most newest one is, up to this podcast we're shooting right now, was the big one. It's something in this episode it was a big battle, it was a big kind of war going on or whatever. It was something that we've been waiting for since episode 1. Like it's the thing that's always been in the back of people's mind or whatever, that was going to happen, inevitable or whatever, and it happened. And wow, I just was really impressed.
Really?
Because as the show goes on, and I watched it from season 1, episode 1 premiere to now. So I've had years of this like weight of this event happening. And this was a cool way to like just watch the show. You imagine even like, I imagine like 6 years ago, it was like, what? You're just starting to play out in your head. Like, oh gosh, like this is happening. This is really going to, they're going to have to face this or whatever. And they did. And it was incredible. You can tell that they got more money for CG as the show goes along. You can see like kind of, like when they first show like the, different CG, they have to use CG in the earlier seasons or whatever. And you can tell like, okay, it's not it's not Marvel level of CG, but it's there. They really went all out, and it looks great. It looked incredible.
The big thing I kept seeing people tweeting this weekend that was making me laugh was just like, man, I'm sure this $9 million battle scene is great if I could see it. Like, people kept tweeting that they couldn't see because it was so dark.
Oh, yeah.
That was all over Twitter. People posted, like, trying to turn their brightness up on their TV.
It was dark.
They were like, I wish I knew who was dying right now. I don't know what's happening.
It was dark, and I actually went back today and scrubbed through and kind of watched some parts again, because I was really impressed from the cinematography and stuff because of that. Because it was freaking dark in places and, like, fricked up. Because the battle was fricked up, what they were doing and stuff. And, I loved it. I loved the look of it. And, you know what it kind of reminds me of is they did to TV what Demon Souls, when, like, you're running and there's that fog and stuff and you can't really see. But it creates a great atmosphere. That's what they kind of did with this, of, like, there's a lot of darkness and it's kind of fricked up looking. And, it was beautiful. And I think they really... it was an hour and a freaking half.
And that's how the rest of the episodes are, aren't they?
This was the longest one. The rest are like an hour and 10 minutes or something.
Gotcha. So this was kind of like the penultimate chapter. And there's a few more episodes, but this is going to be kind of the apex from a...
they have one more giant thing or whatever, but this was the big one. But
the other thing I kept hearing about was the episode before this, that all I was seeing on Twitter was people like, man, how'd they make such a great episode of just meetings? They were like, it was just like meetings and just talking about things.
There was build up and stuff they were doing, but that was fun too. They've all been great so far in these very short seasons so far, but so impressed. And from a filmmaking perspective, it's like, man, I'm watching it going like, this costed $8 trillion. Like, I'm just looking at the amount of time and work and effort.
So not to change the subject, but Benioff and Weiss are the two guys that make this show.
Okay.
Like, they're the lead guys. So they're I know nothing about them. Don't know the first thing about them. But they have been handed basically carte blanche to, they are making the next chapter of whatever they do with Star Wars. Are these guys you would trust with that?
Yeah. I think it's a good hands.
Yeah.
I just was so impressed, and it really lived up to the hype of these 7 years.
Yeah.
They really, you could tell a lot of love and care went into this moments, like these moments in this episode. So great payoff, some great story arcs and stuff that are coming to a close or whatever in this season. Oh, I think this is great television. It's one of the best. So
you know, the great thing is, as someone that doesn't watch Game of Thrones and doesn't, I don't want to know anything super concrete, but I also have no idea what people are talking about whenever they talk about any of it.
Yeah.
One of the nice things is that there really doesn't seem to be any main character in this show. So a lot of times, if someone's like want to spoil The Walking Dead, they'll just, I don't know anything about The Walking Dead. They'll be like, what's that guy, Norman Reedus? Whatever.
Yeah.
What's his name? They'd be like, he dies. You know what I mean? Or whatever. The main sheriff guy, he dies. But like with this show, I don't know who any of these people are. It seems like there is no main character. It's just a bunch of like B characters. Not that that's a bad thing, but it just seems like it's all side characters. Yeah. So that kind of makes it nice.
I'm excited for you to get to it in 8 years.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it when we get a chance.
We'll get to it. Podcast 3000. It was good. So yeah, great to have that back, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I said I hated The Witness, and I didn't say I hated this next thing, but I said I was not interested. 0%.
I think you didn't say you hated it, but I mean, we did a podcast last summer in a pool where we talked quite a bit about this stuff, and you
I'll
basically
put that up
said...
Because everyone freaking, in that episode...
We were all pumped.
You guys talked for an hour and a half, I think. I mean, that's the whole podcast is basically you guys went through, and if you want to see that, I'll put that up right now, rated all of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, we talked about all of them.
And I have never hated the movies. I just got exhausted with them. They came out every 2 months, it felt like.
They've been doing 3 a year for a while.
And I would see them with friends. Like, I went to the theater and watched Avengers or whatever, and I saw Iron Man when it came out back then. But it was Iron Man and Avengers, and I didn't really care to see anything else. Yeah. I didn't really... I don't know. They didn't appeal to me. It's just not my type of movie. So... But a lot of hype was about Infinity War, and that was last year on that podcast.
It was literally, we had just seen Infinity War, and then we went on our trip.
And about this time, too. And, like, you said you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I also was not a big Marvel guy. I watched Avengers with my buddy, and I was like, this is okay. And I watched Captain America with my brother. This is okay. Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I saw Infinity War. I watched Thor Ragnarok, and then I watched Infinity War, and those two, boom, had me all in. And I was, from there, I was all in.
Liked it. Yeah. Some people that I follow online really liked it, and I was like, that sounds cool, Infinity War. But I still didn't watch anything. So I knew Endgame was coming. I knew, and I was hearing, that's it. That's like the end of this phase. And I went, you know what? Maybe it's time. And it was like 3 weeks out. I was like, I do want to maybe catch up to this. And people really liked Infinity War. I'll check it out. So, here was phase 1 of my plan. They had phase 1 of the movies. Here's my phase 1. Without knowing Endgame's release date, I went, can I watch all of the movies, the 20 movies, before Endgame comes out? And I looked up on the calendar when it came out. Comes out in 2 weeks. Or like less than, it was like a week and a half. And I went, phase 1 has ended. Phase 2. How do I just get what needs to be? And then I think we talked after the Hunt and Sneak hangout. I said, how do I do this? And you guys kind of landed on watch Thor Ragnarok, watch Infinity War. I think you'll be ready.
Yep.
Well, what we did, me and my wife sat down, watched Thor Ragnarok, watched a 15-minute like kind of recap on YouTube. Somebody kind of recapped all the movies, and then we watched Infinity War.
And you watched Infinity War Wednesday? Before the movie came out?
The day before the movie came out,
So this dude watches Infinity War. He watches Thor Ragnarok at some point, watches the recap, watches Infinity War, and he's texting us the day before Infinity War comes out, trying to figure out how to get tickets. And we were like, you have waited too long. You don't get to see this movie.
So I watched Thor Ragnarok. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok.
Here's the thing about Thor Ragnarok. Thor 1 and 2, they take the Thor character and he's so like straightforward, and he's like, I am Thor, and it's like very on the nose, and it's just not like funny. Like, I don't know, but they did a great thing with Thor Ragnarok where they were like, let's make him self-aware. Like, Chris Hemsworth is a decent comedic actor, and then they injected some Guardians of the Galaxy like space adventures and injected the Hulk in there, and what's the guy from Jurassic Park that's in that movie? Jeff
Pratt?
No, gosh. He plays Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But he plays like a space mayor, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, but they just made such a fun movie with it.
Yeah, it was fun, and we had like my wife's nephew or whatever over, and he had turned on Thor Ragnarok on one time, like this has been months ago or whatever, and that first part when he's like making little quips or whatever with that demon thing, was like, hold on, let me turn around, or he's in the chain or whatever, and I was just like, I don't know, like, I don't care. But I sat down, I gave it a fair shot, and I had a really fun time with it. There's some fun stuff in that, and so I watched that, and I was like, okay, cool, all right. And we watched the recap to kind of see what happened. All these other movies.
How long was the recap in
15 minutes.
Wow.
So they jumped through the main stuff in each movie. It's like, I got it. Okay, I get it. One regret I have is I maybe would have watched Guardians 1. Yeah. Maybe even 2. Before going into
those two characters,
whatever, but I still had a great time. And I knew about them. I knew like the raccoon, all that stuff, and Groot. But so then we went into Infinity War, and I really had a fun time with Infinity War. Yeah. It was great. It was like, from someone, this is from my perspective of someone not into the movies. I still knew the weight culturally, and just I knew people were waiting years, like I waited for Game of Thrones, so I knew the weight was there. Like weight and heaviness of like these characters, and you've attached to them, and they've had their own trilogies, they've whatever. So to see them like Infinity War spoilers if you haven't seen it, I don't know what human except for me hadn't saw it up to this point, but to see everybody just die at that point, and that was one sucky thing, is I kind of knew that Spider-Man was going through like, people couldn't freaking stop memes for 2 seconds. I got spoiled from that. Like, I was seeing people go, like, I knew that somebody snapped their fingers, or this Thanos guy or whatever, and I knew that people turned to dust or whatever. Yeah. But I knew Spider-Man went. I kind of knew maybe some people also went, but I knew Spider-Man. So seeing it, I was still shocked. Like,
and here's the thing that I love about the way they execute that. He snaps, and it's not like this... and like violins and stuff. It's like there's no music.
There's no music,
There's no audio. I think we talked about this. There is just nothing. And it's just like very calm and very disturbing. Yeah. Like, and each character gets kind of like a moment where they're realizing, or they're talking to somebody, or they're in fear, and they just like fade away. Yeah. And it gives you chills. The theater that I was in, because you're coming off of this high of like, Thor just constructed like a crazy hammer and came down and just obliterated stuff. There's this crazy fight scene in Wakanda, and it's just he hits Thanos, and you're like, he did it. Like, they did it. This is awesome. And then it is just complete silence in the theater, and it's just like everybody. There are people like gasping. You don't ever get that in a theater, because like, I don't know, like there are people audibly like shocked. And then the movie ended, credits go up, and there's no music. And like there were kids in the theater that were like, is Spider-Man dead? Like looking at their parents. Heard a kid turn to dad, is Spider-Man dead? And the dad's just like staring at the screen like, what did I just bring my kid to? This kid's dressed up like these characters. And
now they're dead.
That was where they earned my respect. Because not only did they shock everybody, they earned it, and they deserved it. And Thanos was a great character.
Great villain.
Fantastic.
Because you actually care about, and there's like Shakespearean moments in Infinity War of like, you have to lose something. I love that stuff. So that they incorporated that stuff, and it was just like, you have to lose something to like gain this. Yeah. Is it worth it? And it's like, Like I'll do it, and it's like, man, and he hurts hard from that.
It was their Empire Strikes Back for sure. I think I think it might be a better film than Empire Strikes. That movie is phenomenal.
It was great. So right out of that, it was so funny. Like I haven't been keeping up with the movie. That movie ends. We're watching it. We watched it on Netflix or whatever. And I'm sitting there with my wife, and I was like, we've got to go see Endgame. And it was the next day, and it was like, how do we get to... She was like, no, I have plans. And I was going like, screw your plans. I was like, we've got to see what happens to Iron Man. It's Spider-Man. It's like, I have not been to that.
I was completely shocked when we start getting text messages from you like, how can I get Endgame tickets? Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? You've not been interested in this.
So I am a late adopter of if you can be that late as possible to the Marvel Universe. So we did get tickets. We could have got tickets on day one, but they were front row. Yeah. And it was like, I never want to be front row if I can help it. So it was like, I can wait. So we waited and just saw it right before we filmed.
Did you go spoiler free?
Yeah, I didn't get it. I have been keeping off certain...
This is a movie you want to know nothing because...
I knew zero. I hadn't saw a trailer. I didn't know what was happening. I knew zero things about this movie. I went into it the most blind I've done in a long time with a movie, honestly. But so we saw it tonight, and...
Yeah, you just got back from it.
Yeah, and so I'm very fresh, and it was really funny. My wife was like, I have a theory how they're going to get everybody back. Are they going to do this? And I was like, oh, okay. I haven't even thought about it. I'm just going in, whatever. And it's funny. The movie starts, and they're like, so spoilers for Endgame if you haven't seen it again. But it immediately is like, we're going to get this time machine, and we're going to do this. And they immediately
we're going to go to get the time stones.
They immediately start going back in time to the movies. I thought that was a cool thing to do to kind of wrap up the series. Is going back and to the old movies, looking back to them. So that was a cool way to kind of show homage. It was kind of, this whole movie was...
It was the Metal Gear Solid 4.
It was Metal Gear, fan service galore. Yeah. So, but it was funny because that starts happening, like, we're going to get the time travel, blah, blah, blah. We can only do this at time. And my wife, I look over her, she goes, oh, I actually don't know where they're going with this. Her theory was that they were just going to get the time stone.
Well, that's what I was going to say is...
just go back in time.
That was everything I had seen, and there was no indication in trailer of what they were going to do, but everybody was like, well, they're just going to have to go get that stone. So the movie opens up, and they're like, here's Thanos, we found them, let's go get... And they go straight to him. They go straight to him, and they go there to get the stones, and he's like, they're gone, I destroyed them. And they cut his head off. And it's like the first 10 minutes of the movie, the bad guy's dead, the MacGuffin is gone, and it's just over.
As someone going so blind, I didn't know. Oh.
Yeah.
What is...
I thought the whole movie was going to be them trying to find him and stuff.
Yeah. And I thought credits were going to roll as a joke right there. Like, I was just like, well, where are we going with this? So they go back in time. They are self-aware about it because they're like, they start making little clips and jokes about like, this is Back to the Future. This is like Bill Ted's events, where they start naming all the stuff. Well, how is the time travel thing? But
they kind of did like the Lost thing, where they're like, "Look, our rules are going to play by these rules," and they admit like those other things. Ignore that. This is how this is going to work. Yeah. If you change something in the past, it's just going to be another offshoot. It's not,
But I thought this was really cool. Like going back and you get to see like Hulk at one point, and like even Hulk now is like Bruce Banner and
completely different character.
And he's just like, he just smashes things. He's like, okay, and he just kind of stomps on that thing, and it was fun going back and like seeing. I love and in the Harry Potter movies they do this, and I like that when the characters can see themselves or whatever. I'm into that or whatever. Like I like that continuity and all that stuff in there. So like seeing the old Avengers from 2012 and all that stuff. And
it shows you how much the characters change too.
Yeah.
Like there's been legitimate character growth in these series, because they're so like basic back then. And even they make fun of that, like, oh my, when Captain America fights himself, and he's like, oh my gosh.
He also says, he's like, I'll never get up. He's like, I know. I get it. I know you will. But yeah, they did it right. They did it right. Just like me and my wife were talking right after the movie, and it was like, wow, we saw back to back like this Game of Thrones ginormous kind of production.
Two major cultural things that will never happen again.
Yeah, coming to a close, and like just ginormous kind of things, but ginormous battles too, because Yeah, they really went all out with the battle, too.
Oh my gosh, the final battle in Endgame is Return of the King.
And honestly, I don't read a lot of comics, but I felt that if I was a comic fan, I feel like I would be the way this was filmed, it felt like a giant comic.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, having all those people on seemed laughable.
Yeah.
In a film space, it's laughable. But if you envision it as a comic that it is, this is really, they captured a comic in real time.
Yeah.
And that to me was the most impressive thing.
It breaks the sound barrier of what you think a comic book movie can do.
All these freaking universes are coming in at once.
And
Ant-Man's giant, and he's hitting people, and that was just so fun.
You've got all these people that are AAA, like legitimate, crazy, wealthy star actors who pop up for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then their casts have, like, Robert Redford. Okay, Robert Redford is like some one-off guy in a Captain America movie or whatever. He had a big thing that came out this year of, like, this is his final performance on film. The Old Man and the Gun, and it came out this year. You know what? He was in this too, because screw it. You know, they paid him enough money to come back, and it's just... Yeah, like the final battle scene, I'm with you where I'm like, yeah, like this is just bananas, but like this is impossible. Like that they made this and that this is happening right now, and they gave everybody their moment to just kind of...
everybody got their moment, and it really, like I said, I keep going back to it, feels like a comic book. There was just wacky moments, but I'm watching it going like, wow, this is really cool. As a comic book fan, I'd really be into this.
Yeah,
big time. This is so wacky. And
they made some interesting character choices, like Thor. Just in the last movie, Thor was like,
this was awesome.
The Avenger, and he
really
like
funny.
Builds this like badass axe, and he fights Thanos, and he fails, like miserably fails basically. And then what would happen? I love how they're like, what would happen? They did the 5 years later thing. I read an interview with the writers. They're like, we were kind of influenced by Lost, where like they did the flash forward, and like Jack's got a beard, and like Kate's got a daughter, and they were like, we wanted to do that with our characters after they failed. Of like, what would, like, if they were years later, and they were like, at first we were like, Thor would be like a man on a mission, he'd be trying to do it, and they're like, no, like he did that in the last movie, he failed. He's going to be drunk. Like, he's going to just be a drunk. And they made Thor a big fat drunk with anxiety.
Yeah.
And you know what? They didn't fix it. There wasn't like a moment where he magically lost all his weight. Like, he just stayed a fat drunk the whole movie.
Yeah. I love they made that choice.
That's a bold choice.
Yeah.
And I love how they made Hulk Professor Hulk. And he was a highlight in this movie to me, because a lot of the more recent movies, he's been like a guy who doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. And in this movie, in a movie where nobody knew who they were supposed to be, he owned himself the most. Like, he really knew who he was. And I love Ant-Man in this movie. I never
watched any of the Ant-Mans, and I honestly didn't have any desire to watch any of the Marvel movies. Like I said, it wasn't my thing. But Ant-Man, for some reason, I had never even heard of Ant-Man until this movie.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And but yeah, he was awesome.
There's so much fun stuff with like scale in his movies of like shrinking down. Like the entire final boss fight in the first Ant-Man takes place in a briefcase that they both get locked into, and they're fighting inside. And like it's just a lot of fun.
So that was awesome. And then Iron Man had to take the
fall. So there were, of the 6 main original Avengers, Thor at the end of the movie decides he's not going to be king anymore, and I guess he's going to hang out with the Guardians. Hawkeye, I assume, is just going to be with his family.
Yeah. Black
Widow dies. So I thought that was a cool callback to. It's interesting. They basically shot for shot the Soul Stone sacrifice from the first movie with Gamora and Thanos.
Yeah.
They remade it, but it was Hawkeye and Black Widow. And what do you think of that? Like, it was kind of interesting because they needed to get the stone, and they were fighting over who got to kill themselves, versus in the other one, it was just him throwing her off.
I really liked that. I mean, I already liked that kind of concept. To get that stone, you had to do that. I thought that was awesome.
And so, as someone who didn't watch a lot of the movies, they've spent a lot of time building up their friendship across all the movies. So it was the two worst possible people you could put on that mountain together, because they're like really good friends.
Yeah, so. I assumed that. I when I watched their interaction.
I think they do a good enough job of making the movie to where you understand. Because like, I didn't see Doctor Strange, but when Hulk was talking to the Doctor Strange lady, I got what was going on. She was not wanting to give him the stone. She's powerful. Whatever.
There was one thing, and I wonder if because they did a pretty good job. Like I said, like Thor Ragnarok, and there was a recap and stuff. I got kind of glimpses of people's characters, but I honestly feel like Hulk and everybody, like they each have their own personality, and everybody kind of gels.
Yeah.
But, and I might get flack for this. You might agree. You might see what I'm saying. There was one character in this movie. I knew it was
going to be
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I don't get her.
I do not get it. But I did not see the movie.
I didn't see it either.
But all I heard from even Marvel fans was, yeah, Captain Marvel was okay. So that to me, okay to me is like kind of just jump and dash.
I got to be honest. I'm glad
she
she wasn't in this movie a lot because I don't really like her.
I don't like her either.
She's not
she
doesn't make her.
There's just, I'm just really strong and there's other galaxies out there.
Yeah.
And then she just leaves and it's like, and then she cut. It's funny because
I'm with you 100%.
Here's the thing. You were just talking about Thor getting big and his character arc and changing. She comes back with shorter hair.
Yeah.
That sums it all up to me, honestly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 1,000%. I don't connect to her. She's just got like a crap eating grin all the time. And just, I haven't seen Captain Marvel, so maybe there's stuff I don't know, but I did think she had a really cool moment in terms of action of where they're all shooting down and then they just start shooting at the sky.
Yeah, that was cool.
So she's good for that, I guess.
Yeah, I understood that she was like,
but like
very strong.
On a character level, I got nothing for her.
One of the strongest, but man, she was just very weak in this movie. I don't know, like weak character-wise, strong, strong-wise, but
so I don't know.
I haven't seen Captain Marvel, so maybe there's something there. But even that, like I said, I didn't see freaking. I don't remember a lot of Hawkeye from Avengers and stuff, but I really connected with his character. They had enough to show there. Everybody had little pieces that you got enough of their character.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, I didn't feel that way.
So getting back to the heavy hitters, we talked about Thor, we talked about Hawkeye, we talked about Black Widow. The other, hold on, we're missing, who were the other, there's 6 main Avengers. We'll talk about Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man in this movie, I think he gave a great performance in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
You see such a range from him. Like, from the opening part of the movie, he's, like, going to die stranded. Then he's, like, crazy, like, whacked out, like, guy that's, like, barely hanging on to his life in a hospital bed. Then he's, like, reformed superhero living with his daughter and his wife. And then he's, like, action man. And then he's, like, tragic death guy. Like, he had a wide range he had to really do. And Iron Man to me has always been a fun character, and I like him, but he's never been my favorite. But I really found myself caring about him a lot, and I don't know. I like how he always looked after Peter Parker, and then in this movie, that's kind of the main reason he ends up going back. I thought the stuff with his daughter was done. It was just a couple of scenes, but it was done really well. And
definitely, yeah.
It was really touching. I think the ship had sailed. I mean, when you think about the 3 Iron Man movies, the 4 Avengers movies, Civil War, Spider-Man, he showed up in the Hulk movie. We basically squeezed just about all we can out of that character.
Out of that actor
They
himself.
have not yet gotten to the point where it was a caricature, but like you start to run out of things you can do. And so I thought it was the appropriate time.
And I thought it was appropriate that he was the one to sacrifice to do that.
The whole arc started with him, with Iron Man. It was the first movie.
Yeah, he's the first one.
And so it closed with him, and I thought that was good.
I did tell my wife, I was like, but what about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man? He should have, like, instead of saying, you're Thanos, but I'm the first Spider-Man.
Yeah. So
and swooped his black hair.
Hulk is the other, before we talk about Captain America, Hulk also, in this movie, he really found a good balance, but his arm is, like, destroyed at the end of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Still even. Like, he's supposed to heal himself, and it's fricked. So,
That's what I thought was cool with Thanos, when they were like, what did you do with the stones? Like, it nearly killed me.
Yeah.
It nearly fricked me up.
Yeah.
And I like what he's doing. He's just collecting fruits and stuff, and just living out his days or whatever.
So
that really fricked him up.
So Hulk seems like so I guess maybe the main thing I'm trying to say is Iron Man's dead. Thor he's given up his kingdom. He's still going to be around, though, it seems like. But Hulk pretty much seems like he's probably done fighting. He's just going to be an advisor. Hawkeye's definitely done. He's retired. He's tried to retire 3 times. They keep bringing him back. I don't think they're bringing him back again. Black Widow's dead. So that only leaves us Captain America of the original Avengers. And I thought that they gave him an amazing send-off for this movie. Yeah. He's always been my favorite I think different people gravitate towards different ones, but from the first Captain America movie, I loved him because he was not like, he was like weak. he was like a really weak, small, skinny guy.
I watched one of those and I liked it at the time. I did watch Captain America.
And he his superhero really is just his optimism. It really is, and his good heart towards people. And so then he gets the superpower abilities, but he's already just a really good person. And so the tragedy of his character has just been like his best friend dies, falls off of a train. Then he gets frozen in ice, and they rescue him 70 years later, and he lived because he's a superhuman or whatever. And so he misses his love of his life dies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He misses his entire life. He wakes up in this postmodern society where there are no good and bad people. He finds out that S.H.I.E.L.D., the agency he works for, is run by Hydra, which is what he fought against. He finds out his best friend has been a killer for the Russians and is brainwashed. And then he starts this thing and goes through all this crap with the Avengers. And then he sees half the people die. And like he just went through so much. And then at the end of this movie, they're like, hey, go take all this stuff back. And I just think it's so true to that character that I could totally see he puts all those stones back and he's like, all right, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go find the love of my life. I'm going to go live my life because he earned it big time. And so I thought that was a really cool thing for his character. It was way more meaningful than if you just killed him. Because I think Tony Stark got to have that family life that he always wanted for the 5 years that he got to do it. And so I thought they did both characters good because it's not like they just killed them and they didn't get to do what they wanted to do. They both got to kind of do it. And then he gives the shield to Falcon. I mean, I guess that's what he does in the comics. I'm going to be real honest.
When that happened, I went, I don't know what's happening, but I feel like this is the same moment that Dark Knight Rises.
It's the same exact thing.
Happened, but Dark Knight Rises when he gives them the thing.
Sam, whatever his name is, he comes in
the passing on of the baton.
He comes in the second Captain America movie, and basically his backstory is Captain America is obviously a former military guy in Winter Soldier, and he goes to like a veterans like help place, and Sam is running it. And Sam is a former veteran also. And so they become friends. And then in Captain America's Winter Soldier, things happen to where Captain America has to lay low. Yeah. And he remembers that Sam guy, and he goes and stays with him. And then they find the Falcon suit, and he becomes Falcon. Yeah. But Falcon to me is kind of a whatever character. He's fun, but like they haven't done any character development on him.
For
so
sure.
to me, like I think if they just give him the shield, that's fine. Let him be Captain America. Don't try and make movies with him. I don't think that they will. Like he'll just kind of have the shield and he'll have a couple shots every movie and be his own little guy. But So great send off. Yep. But all that being said, it's a weird place now that they're in. Because I love the movie. I want to go see it again. My fiance hasn't seen it yet, so I think I'm going to go with her to see it. But I couldn't stop thinking about when I left the theater they always end these movies with like end credit scenes, and they're always hitting the next thing.
We even sat there and I Googled it real quick. I was like, so we say there's none.
They don't show anything.
Yeah, which I think was a good call.
Which is a good call because this is
because I even looked, my wife looked over and I was just like, what can they show?
Yeah. It seems very final, and for this core group of characters, it is final. I mean, two of them are dead. One of them is an old man, and then one's retired, and then one is basically retired from being king, and one's got a completely destroyed arm. Like the core Avengers, for all intents and purposes, are done. Yeah. Like they're gonna maybe be in the movies, but the movies aren't gonna be about them now.
Yeah.
And so I walked out of the theater like, number one, it had such a sense of finality that I never thought you would get from these movies that it was like, wow, like that is really something. But I also just found myself wondering from like the business angle of like, where on earth do they go? Yeah. And so I've actually spent some time this past week just learning about the wider universe and some of these other things. And what I have learned, number one, is there's about 1 billion different things they could do because the core Avengers team is like 1% of that whole universe. Like there's literally a map where like they map out all of the major characters in the universe, and like what we've seen in movies, like Thanos is not a big player whatsoever. And really Earth isn't that big of a deal. So it's interesting like that they have a lot of places they can go. I don't know that you immediately want to start escalating on top of this. I almost think you start over. Like I think you can keep the characters you have, but start building something else up from the ground up and do something else. But yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that you finally got caught up on it though, because
I think they'll take a 6-month break before the next one.
They have the next movie that comes out is it's the end of the Phase 3, and they said that they
That's weird that Endgame. I feel
like that's how they've always done it. They've always done for the end of Phase 1 it was Avengers, but Phase 2 ended with it was Avengers: Age of Ultron, and then they did Ant-Man. And then Phase 3 is going to be this movie and then Spider-Man. They always like to end it on a small movie. Okay. And they said the reason is because they can use that small movie as like a transitionary thing. So like Ant-Man was really that way. Like it helped transition out of, what the big thing that happened in the... Or maybe it wasn't. It was...
So the last one is a Spider-Man. And then that's it.
And what's interesting about that is, and what I really like is my biggest fear going into this movie was they were going to find a way to undo it all.
I guess Spider-Man does take place.
It takes place in Endgame. Yeah, so that's what I was going to say my biggest fear was that they were just going to undo it all, and you'd go back and watch Infinity War and be like, well, none of this mattered. Yeah. But it does matter, because not only do these other people die and stuff, 5 years went by, and so you had people that were not in the world, and 5 years went by, and now they're back, and like... There's going to be a lot of like world building stuff you can do with that in terms of...
Oh, does it take place before Endgame then?
What? Spider-Man? Yeah. No. It takes place after Endgame.
The whole movie Endgame. Okay.
It takes place after Endgame.
I thought you were saying that in that 5 years.
The next Spider-Man movie takes place after Endgame, so...
That's weird. I feel like that's weird if this is going to be the end... Is this the end of the phase, and the next phase is going to be whole new characters, right?
Well, what I think is going to happen in the next phase is, we already know that they're doing a third Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
I didn't know that.
So they James Gunn is coming back for it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, but the interesting about Guardians is that could be about anything, because they are a connection point to all those other things I was talking about. Like if the Avengers are this, and then there's all this out there, like there are so many other characters and villains and celestial beings and things that are bigger and badder and different, you know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, I think Guardians getting a third movie makes sense, and you can use that as a launch point to take this whole thing in a different direction. But yeah, I mean, my understanding is they are talking about doing like this Shang-Chi guy. I guess he's like a martial arts guy. They're going to start introducing some new characters. I think that they're going to retire out some people. I mean, they just did retire out a whole bunch of people. Yeah. But as far as what they're doing next, no one really knows. And we'll see. I mean, I'm going to kind of watch. I think I'm going to go see Spider-Man just because I like Spider-Man. But who knows? I mean, I do know, though, that what they've pulled off with this, they've got my interest. I'll pay attention and see what they do. I don't know that I'll definitely go and see. Because that's the thing is, you don't top this anytime soon. I mean, you basically have to start building again for a whole new thing. Yeah. And I mean, you pulled off lightning in a bottle once. Can you do it twice?
Yeah, I was surprised. When I was even watching Endgame, I was just like, man, they where DC has failed and other people have tried to like talk about connecting universes, they did it. Like,
and here's where they have my infinite respect is I feel like they've gotten better and better and better.
Oh yeah, they've gotten...
If you go back and watch Phase 1, some of those movies are duds.
Yeah.
Some of those movies are duds. I don't think the first Avengers is that great. Like Avengers 1 and then 2 and then Infinity War and then this, and if you count Civil War, every single movie it got better.
Yeah, definitely.
And I see Infinity War, I think, to me, I debate do I like Infinity War or Endgame better? It's kind of like the like Metal Gear Solid 3 versus 4 conversation. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to split. They're kind of like one big movie. But I definitely think those two are far and away better than anything that came before it. And so to me, it's like, it's this weird thing of like, they've gotten better and better and better. So until that trajectory tapers off, like I'm going to be interested. But yeah, I mean,
hopefully take a little bit of a break and think on things.
Certainly. But
I mean, it took 2 years for Game of Thrones. Can we get 2 years for a Marvel movie?
Yeah, just take a second and
take a second.
Yeah.
And get through it. But before we go in the final thing, I wanted to give a shout out to the city of St. Louis. We went on a trip. We were actually going to shoot this podcast in St. Louis. It didn't happen. We could not fit it in because we fit the whole city in.
Yep.
In one day. But I want to give a shout out to one specific place because I thought this was so cool. I'm still thinking about this place because I loved it so much.
It was awesome.
I'll put the name if I mess it up, but I think it was Sky City.
I think it's City Museum.
It was the City Museum, but it was that whole place around it.
Oh, I don't know what it was called.
I remember seeing signs and stuff, whatever, but it was the City Museum, of St. Louis.
Yeah.
This place is like part museum, part adult / kids playground.
It is.
And when I heard that, I was like, let's go to that for today. And we went, and we had a blast.
Yep.
That place was awesome. So shouts out to that.
Yeah, it's just all these tunnels, and
I might put some video in here.
When you first go in, there's just like, you'll start seeing holes in the wall, and you're like, what's that? And you look, and you can climb up the hole, and some of them are too small for you to fit. Some of them are big enough, and they'll lead to slides. And I felt like Breath of the Wild walking around there. Because you would just walk, and you'd see these weird walkways and these things you could climb up or climb down or squeeze into, and you would just see something and go after it. We crawled under this thing and came around a corner, and there's a guy playing drums, and like there was a little bar. There was a tiny bar area, and there was a guy. Yeah, we were basically behind the stage. We came around, and it felt like Breath of the Wild. It felt like being a kid again, of like exploring a place or a house. You know what I mean? Exploring and kind of like, what's that over there? Let's check that out. And we'd climb it up. And go, oh, there's a slide down there. And there was also one area where we came down, and it was like caves, and then we came up, and there was like water dripping, and we looked, and there's like this really old worn brick with like a giant organ, and then these giant metal spiral staircases.
Yeah, we didn't know what it really was.
And I literally looked up, and I was like, I feel like I'm in a Dark Souls game. Like, this is unbelievable, some of this stuff. So.
And then a funny quote happened, because so we climbed that. We climbed 1 billion flights of stairs. It was 10 stories. According to... somebody didn't know that.
This place is famous because it's got a 5-story slide, and you can climb higher, and there's a 10-story slide. So we climbed 10 stories. This building is 10 stories tall. And there's a big sign, 10-story slide. So we're waiting in line, and we get up there, and there's a guy in front of us, and there's 2 like slides you can go down because it's just fast, like a water slide. You can offset, have 2 people go at once. And this guy is talking to the lady. You know how when they have slides at these places, there's a lady that's making sure that one person goes at a time, and it's all safe. So guy is talking to the lady and says, wow, so keep in mind, we're 10 stories off the ground. So he says, wow.
You could see the roof also.
You can see the roof.
You can see the glass window.
And there's a giant 10 on the wall. He says, wow, so how does this work? Like, is this the 5-story slide and this the 10-story slide? and we're just sitting here like... What? Like, we're 10 stories. Like, you can see the slides. Like, we are 10 stories off the ground. How would one be a 5 and one be a 10?
My wife did say later, but still, he should have known. Because there was clearly, when you got to it, there was a thing that said, here's the 5 slide.
Go this way for the 5 and then go up here for the 10.
Yeah, so, but to be sort of fair, my wife did say, it was like, well, what if that went down 5 stories and stopped right there? But, then where's the room to do it? I don't know. You should have known when you're looking.
Even the girl laughed at him. The girl laughed when he asked. She said, no, these are both 10.
So we were laughing about that.
There was another great quote. There was an outdoor area with like castles and like chain tunnels. And
so there was a guy. There was a Asian family or whatever. But there was a guy who was saying. So he's waiting or whatever, his kids, and they're having fun.
It's very congested up in these tunnels. We're up in the air.
This is very congested. You can see it if I put pictures or whatever. Like, there's tunnels, there's like metal walkways. It's unreal. Like, I can't describe it.
If we described it, you wouldn't believe us, and then you'd see a picture and be like, you were in that?
These go into planes and stuff. But he said at one point, the one guy, the one adult that was with him, said... He's looking, and it's pretty.
We're in a plane like 50 feet off the ground.
And he says, and we were quoted the whole week. He looked. He said, "This looks too long. I will take a shortcut." Yep. Like he was just looking at that, and I looked. I turned to Travis like, "That sounds like something we would say in a Dark Souls game. This looks too long, and I will take a shortcut." Yep. And he walked out, and sure enough, he was done with it.
Yep, it was great.
Really crazy place, and you dropped your phone onto some man.
I did, yeah. So one of the weird things about this is like you'll be walking, and you'll see like a little hole, and you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go look in this hole, and it's like like monkey bar type stuff. So I start climbing down this hole. Number one, I realize as soon as I step down into this hole, and I'm down in here now, it is like a 5-story drop. Like I can see people 50 feet below me and like staircases and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to shimmy this way, whatever. And then I hear somebody gasp as I'm getting through that thing. And then I hear something about a phone. And I put my hand in my pocket and my phone is not in my pocket.
Oh my
I was wearing sweatpants. And then I look down and I see 5 stories down. There are some kids looking in like in a fountain. And there are people looking up above. And there's people saying, a phone fell. And so it felt like something out of a movie. I'm running around. I'm trying to find a staircase. I get to where I'm like 4 stories above them. I'm waving and I make eye contact with this guy. And I was like, do you have a phone? And he holds it up. And I was like, I don't know how to get to you. So like, I'm like going down like poles and I'm going down like staircases trying to get to this guy. I finally get down to him and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my phone. He's like, yeah. And I was like, I was like, oh wow, okay, so I broke. I was like, did it hit anybody? He's like, yeah, me. My phone fell 5 stories and hit this guy, and he broke its fall. And so I said, thank you. And then he walked away like very disgruntled. And so
I like somebody asked you, I don't know if it was your fiance or somebody else said, well, was he mad? And you said, well, he wasn't happy.
Yeah, he wasn't thrilled, but he was nice enough to give me my phone back.
Yeah,
so.
But that place was awesome. Definitely check that out if you're in that area and stuff. And we, of course, saw the giant arch.
Yeah.
Also, pro tip, if you go to the arch and you want to take a picture on a timer, the little scooters that have littered the streets of every city that is in America.
Yeah.
Bird and Lime scooters. Keep your eye open.
Yeah.
We had one of our friends, she was setting that phone up on like a step that's right in front of the arch. We were going to take it right on the arch, whatever, all of us, a big group of our friends went. And she's sitting there and she's like mouthing, what is he doing?
This guy was just watching.
The guy kind of watching where the phone was at, and I was getting kind of heebie-jeebies too, because he's sitting there with the scooter, and it's weird that we're like, everybody else kind of moving around. He's kind of like standing there. He's too close.
Yeah.
And she ends up like, okay, we all kind of get up moving, and then he goes away.
Yep.
And it wasn't until later, because it's like, okay, I feel like he was going to steal the phone, and then I really knew I was going to get the phone. I've never rode those scooters, and I finally was able to find one that wasn't dead on the streets or whatever. I finally got one, and I cranked that like that.
They're fast.
They boogie. And I went, yeah,
he
would have got that, and he would have
phone.
gotten away. He would have gotten away for sure. So keep your eyes peeled for people trying to steal at the arch.
Jeez.
But awesome trip. It was a fun trip. But here we are. We're back. One last announcement. So new hangouts will be the month of May. They're coming. Might try to do some more longer ones and stuff. Might try to change it up. We'll see what goes on. New Backlog Bros coming.
Mm-hmm.
And in the month of May, Dweebs, episode 3, titled Conflict, is coming May 23rd, Thursday, May 23rd. Look forward to that. So that's our podcast. Hope you've enjoyed all the Marvel talk, all the PlayStation 5 talk, all the fun. And now,
don't do it.
I wish for us to go to close the window of your browser and shut your computers off. Black screen. It's over.